laughter is medicine, and if I can, give you a good shot
Yeah.
every now and then to brighten your day or add to whatever you have going on, and you leave feeling really good, and you think it's money well spent, or whether you got in for free, you think it's time well
Yeah.
spent. That I'm happy.
You're listening to the podcast, Clean Comedy Chats with your host, Drew Davis. It's gonna be awesome and will change your life forever. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Welcome back to Clean Comedy Chats, the podcast where we interview different comedians each week from the Clean Comedy Collective. I bring a different friend from our nationwide network. And this week, I'm so excited because I have my friend from Memphis, Jae Henderson. How we doing, Jae?
Hello, I am great. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here. And
Happy to be here.
You're visiting Nashville because we're on a show together tonight in Smithville.
Yay!
And then you had a show last night in
I was in Murfreesboro.
Murfreesboro, okay, and it was with your sorority, or
well, it was with a sorority. I am a member of Zeta Phi Beta, and this was Delta Sigma Theta. But my sorority sisters did come out to support. Thank you, Rutherford County chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, and they had a book chat / comedy show, which was a lot of fun. That's the first
cool,
time I've done that. I would love to do more of them. So we talked about one of my books, Where Do We Go From Here? And then afterwards I did a set.
Okay, that's so cool. So you did a comedy show after your book, like review, book study. So like, did you find the book people were a good audience for a comedy show?
Yeah. Most of the people stayed for both parts, and a captive audience. I think they wanted to hear me even more after hearing me talk about my book.
I love it. And that makes sense because you get to know you and they're like, okay, let's hear the jokes. Well, before we get more into Jae, just a friendly reminder to everyone here. So this podcast is part of the Clean Comedy Collective. We have a website called cleancomedycollective.com. And you can go there and you can get to know all the comedians that are part of our collective. We have about 220 right now from about 32-ish states. The goal is to have all 50 states by the end of the year.
That's wonderful. I was there since the very beginning.
Right.
We're up to over 200 members. That's great.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, because we started in Tennessee and then we branched out a little bit. And we got some in Memphis, and so me and Jay are both in the Tennessee section. If you want to check that out on our website, in addition to seeing the comedians in the network, you can see what kind of shows we have upcoming each month. You can check out earlier episodes of this podcast. There's also a donation function where if you want to donate and join our Patreon, we get longer episodes where you get to hear me mess up the headphones and not figure it out, and then get to learn you get to really it's like you're actually here in the room with us doing the podcast with us, whereas we tidy it up before we put it out for public consumption. And then if you're a comedian and you're interested in being part of the Clean Comedy Collective, there is a submission process, and that's something you can figure out on our site as well. And that being said, before we ask Jay questions, here's a quick bio of Jay. So we already said you're a Memphis, Tennessee comedian. She performs all across the country. We're talking Georgia, Tennessee, Las Vegas, Alabama, all the places. You were the 2025 winner of the. You got the up and coming award for the Memphis Comedy Festival. Memphis Urban Laughs Comedy Festival. And then you are the founder of the Gospel Girls Comedy Show. You're author of 11 books and used to write for the Tom Joyner Morning Show.
I did.
We learned earlier as we were working on getting things set up here that you're also a former radio DJ, so that might be fun to talk about. And you were a voiceover I almost said voiceover activist. That sounds like a
not quite a voice actor,
actor, artist, and a professional speaker. And we're going to be covering all of that and more in this podcast. But before we jump into that, question we ask all of our guests right off the bat, before beyond the bio, who is Jae Henderson?
I was about to say you just said it all.
No, that's just what you do. Who are you as a human?
As a human, well, Jae Henderson is a wife. I'm newlywed. I've been married less than 2 years now.
All right.
Yes. As you said, I'm a book author, and people, believe it or not, I am an introvert.
Really? Okay.
Yes, I am a huge homebody, so it surprises.
How does this feel like talking at here and being out of home in a different city.
As I tell people, I've learned over time how to turn it on, turn it off, because I learned very early in my career that a closed mouth does not get fed. You just sitting over in the corner being quiet, people might not even notice you're there. So you have to learn to speak up and advocate for yourself, especially as you're going through your career and trying to, make dreams come true.
Absolutely, that's very wise. I learned early on that no one will value you as much as yourself, as far as like in comedy, and like especially when it comes to like how much do you charge? Like no one, you got to give it. If you no one's gonna ever hear your amount and be like, let me double that. You seem like you're worth more than
Every
that.
now and then you run into somebody that says that's
Yeah.
not enough.
Yeah.
But most people, oh, that's all, and then you're like, dang, I should have charged
Right.
more.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when I hear, oh, that's all, I
Yeah.
thought I did pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. And you're like, no, that was just the first half, the first half of it. So, but yeah, I cut you off as you're talking. Is there anything else beyond the bio, or?
Talking about yourself, or at least in my case, is one of the hardest things to do.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's about it.
That's it. I mean, that's a good start. So that's a good you. So hey, if you know Jay and you're listening to this, go ahead and comment below who is Jay beyond the bio. So maybe some of your sorority sisters will jump in and be like, well, let me tell you who Jay is. So, okay. So I thought this was a fun, good first question, because you're not so much a new comic anymore. But in the grand scheme of things, you're a newer comic. But you've been doing it, you said, for about 3 years, right? So.
I'm almost in
Almost.
October. It'll
Oh,
be 3 years.
okay, very cool. And you've done so much in those 3 years, so you're on a good start, if that's what we want to call it. It feels weird to say like on a good start. It also feels weird to call comedians like up and coming, because like you're doing it. You've come. Like you.
Like it's levels to this.
Yeah.
So I definitely think I even refer to myself as your favorite up and coming
Yeah.
comedian. I definitely don't think I've made it yet,
Hmm.
and a lot of that has to do with exposure and money.
Right.
So you're trying to reach that benchmark where people are willing to pay you enough to live off of, and
Absolutely.
I'm definitely not
Not
there.
there yet. Not there yet. Hey, but we all got to start somewhere, and we all got to
Amen.
move forward. So in your 3 years, what has been either your favorite part of comedy, or if you have like a favorite like memory or experience, or just what's been something that's just been absolutely awesome in your experience of doing comedy?
Well, early on, going to Las Vegas and performing at Jimmy Kimmel's Comedy Club. That was, I mean, that was my first year in comedy, and that was a definite high because everybody wants to perform on the strip,
Absolutely.
and I had the opportunity to do so. And then while I was there, a friend of mine, also fellow comedian Rob Love, he was performing at Dre's, and his promoter let me come on
Oh, that's
and
so
do a few
cool.
minutes. So I mean, it ended up being a twofer at two very popular venues on the strip. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was amazing.
I love experiences like that because, sometimes it just kind of happens, but when it
Mhm.
happens, you're like, man, I want this all the time. So it
Mhm.
kind of gives you like a goal of
Most
like, I want, yeah.
definitely.
Uh,
And at the second show at Dre, Shang was hosting. And that's one of the OGs
yep.
of been around forever. So to get to work with artists such as him, and that's probably where most of my highlights come in, when I've gotten to work with people like Shang and Damon Williams.
Mhm.
And I was with Joe Torre a few weeks ago.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So stuff like that,
Have you
amazing.
had any like conversation with them, or any like has any of the more famous people ever given you any kind of like insight, or maybe even, or either like good advice, or maybe like there's like a fun story or anecdote about?
Well, most of them say the same thing. Keep hitting the stage. You
Mhm.
know, whether it's ones in Memphis that are well respected, like Prescott,
Mhm.
Tony Tone, but they all pretty much have the same advice: keep getting on that stage. The more you're on the stage, the better you'll get.
Yes, and I love hearing that we're still saying that instead of, because sometimes it feels like in this age of like social media and stuff like that, everyone's worried about getting viral, or like getting viral. That's not the right way of saying it, going viral.
Well, it helps.
But
I mean, look at how many people have been able to launch successful
yeah,
comedy careers after going viral.
right.
So,
It certainly helps. I'm old fashioned in that it's like, as you go viral, make sure you have some good content.
Amen.
As you know, as you're getting bigger and filling up those rooms, make sure you got some funny jokes up there, and that comes with going on stage as much
Mm.
as possible.
Well, you can
So,
tell who has really studied the craft.
mhm.
You can, because I mean, there's always this debate between people who are more traditional comedians
Yeah,
and people who became comedians off of social media. But and you can, like I said, you can tell the people that have put in the work,
right, absolutely, and I think
because being funny on social media is totally different than doing stand up comedy.
it is 100% different. It's a different skill. It's a different, and it's
Hmm.
different. Both, especially in today's age, are important. But it is, kind of two different parts of the job, so to speak. And it is interesting because there's a fine line because on one hand, humor is subjective,
True.
but on the other hand, there's a skill to stand up. There's a skill to being funny on stage.
And that's what I love about the route that I went, because I started off by taking a class.
Hmm.
Latoya Tennille in Memphis.
She's delightful.
Yeah, wonderful. She was doing a women in comedy boot camp, and I knew I could write jokes because, as you stated earlier, I used to write for the Tom Joyner Morning
Yeah,
Show, where I would write for their weekend segment called "Right Back at You," where he would basically replay some of the stuff that happened during the week, and I would write the funny commentary, the intros and outros to the segments. I knew I could write. I wanted to see if I could stand up and deliver the jokes as well, but I
right.
had no intention of becoming a comedian. That was supposed to be a one and done. To graduate the class, you had to do a stand up routine.
Yeah.
But when it was over, Latoya was like, "You're actually pretty good, and we could use more clean comedians."
Hmm.
So I kept doing it, and I said I would keep doing it as long as I'm enjoying myself.
That's the
And I,
key.
I am still enjoying the ride. I am. And it's not a bad way to make some extra money.
No, it's so much fun. It's so much fun when and when you're not stressed about it. When it's not like when there's not so much pressure about like, oh, I have to do this show to lead to the next show to lead to the next opportunity. But when you get to go there, take in the experience, if you're getting paid for it, that's even wonderful. Yeah,
Hmm.
even more wonderful.
Well, for me, it's definitely my personality. And early on, my first public facing career was radio, and I said
Mhm.
I never wanted to do anything that I could not invite my grandmother to. And
That's
don't
great.
get me wrong, she's deceased now, but any family member, I grew up in a Christian household
Mhm.
with strong moral values, and I don't want to see them in the audience cringing,
Yeah,
or they have to get up and walk out like, nah, that wasn't for me. I would like to be able to invite anybody in my family to anything I would do,
yeah.
and they can watch it. And yeah, that's just, and it, like you said, it's more comfortable for
Hmm.
me. I remember once I was auditioning for a TV role, something local going on, and it had profanity. And the dude looked at me when I got done. He said, "Next time you're not comfortable cussing, just tell the person."
Yeah,
I was like, it was that obvious
yeah.
that
That's
I
great.
don't do.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say I don't cuss. I'm just gonna be real. I don't cuss publicly.
Hmm.
I do, a few words do fly from time to time, but that is not my everyday personality.
And I think that's so important when you're doing stand up to lean into what you're comfortable with and not feel like you have to force it because authenticity really helps us be funny or not if we're not like. And so folks that like don't want to like that, it feels very awkward to cuss in
Mm,
front of people or not. Or I love that for you, it's like I want to do any joke I do, I would want my family or my grandma to be there, and then you're comfortable with it. But like for any comedian listening, if you're ever working on stuff and even if it works, if you don't like the way it sounds, if you don't like how you feel after you say that joke, there is nothing wrong with deciding I'm just not going to do that joke because
or changing
or
it.
changing
Or
it. Yeah,
changing it.
if you're able to change it, that's great.
It's your show. That's
Yeah.
the great thing. You can do anything you want with it. I mean, when I've talked to other comedians, they say clean is a lot harder,
Hmm.
and it's natural. It's easy. It flows for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, do what works for you.
I like that. So you we were speaking of kind of backtracking a little bit, but we were talking about the phrase "up and coming"
Hmm.
comic and how in 2025 you got the best up and coming comic award for the Memphis Urban Last Comedy Festival.
Yes.
So what was that like, or like what was the festival like, or was that your first year doing the festival,
It
or?
was not. Latoya puts on a great
Mhm.
festival every year, and the crazy thing was, I missed the award. I I
Whoops.
I was not. I actually battle with depression.
Mhm.
And I was having one of those days and I just knew I wasn't gonna win but I was like, I'm gonna go. I am going to go. So I drug getting in there and I'm en route and I start getting all these texts. You won, you won, you won. I was like, oh my God, I wasn't even there. But once I got there, they let me say a few words and I could have kicked myself for that one. I mean,
Yeah.
they still let me have a moment. But I had just convinced myself that I wasn't going to get it. But that's what depression is.
Yeah.
It's
Tells you
these
things that
horrible
aren't true.
feelings
Yeah.
about yourself and the things around you. But I had convinced myself that I wasn't going to get it, and there was no need to rush.
Absolutely.
But I encourage anybody to come to the festival. Great workshops.
Mhm.
You get to see some great comedy from artists you may or may not have ever heard of. And I think next year is going to be the 10th year.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so
I
too.
believe it's gonna be 10th year. So, if you and it's all types of comedy.
Mhm.
So get to
It's
Memphis.
a good
It's
time.
it's usually in the fall.
Yeah, I want September-ish maybe, I don't know.
I won't even try it,
I don't even
but
yeah. I said that, I was like, "That might not actually be true."
I know I'm wearing boots. So yeah, it's in the fall.
That is a really good festival. I believe I've been part of it twice, maybe 3 times, but, it's been a really I enjoy it. Of course, I love the Memphis comedy scene. I always tell people, I learned the skill of comedy in Nashville when I started, but then I was in the Memphis area for, like, 6 years, and I feel like that really gave me, like, a heart the kinda heart I have for comedy. Nashville kinda gave me the skills, but Memphis like, the people I connected with and met with in Memphis helped me.
What I can say about Memphis is Memphis has the friendliest comedy scene.
Mhm.
I had so many people who just kind of encouraged me and gave me opportunities. You hear these stories about people that are cutthroat and
Mhm.
hating on you and that type of thing. I have not gotten that. Thank God, knock on wood, that it does not happen.
Yeah.
But so far, this industry has been really sweet and welcoming to me, and I appreciate it
That's
because I may
awesome.
not. I mean, I might not have stuck with it if I kept encountering not so nice people.
Right.
But people like you. Anytime I'm coming to Nashville, and Drew, what's going on? And you gladly, willingly, cheerfully text me back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and we love having you here. But I think it's important. I'm not going to say that comedy and entertainment doesn't have like the competitiveness, the cutthroatness, the toxicness, because that all is part of the entertainment. But I think it's so important to find the people that aren't like that, that are life giving to you, and surround yourselves with those people. And the more you do it, the more you find. In addition, maybe you do see some, not
Hmm.
great things, but you also see the people that you mesh with well. And
You
then,
do.
for me, I'm realizing now at this stage in comedy, even though stand up comedy is kind of by nature a solo thing, like you're
Hmm.
on stage just by yourself. It
You
doesn't
and a mic.
yeah, but in general, it doesn't have to be a solitary thing. You can have your people, you can have your team, you can have your connections, and that gives you the strength to kind of keep going. I feel like,
Yeah, but I'm just so grateful that I have not encountered people
mhm.
who feel threatened by me or are conniving
Yeah.
and just yeah, they want you to win.
Yeah. I wonder if it's also too part of your vibe, like you just come across as just a friendly person, and so I think it might be harder. I said you come across. You are a friendly person. You fake it so but and I don't know, like when people meet you, maybe they feel less need to have their guard up. Maybe they feel less need to,
Maybe, and then I'm
I don't-
just laid back.
yeah.
I'm very laid back. So I'm sitting back. I'm also a student of comedy, so I
Mhm.
spend a lot of time observing rather than talking.
Yeah.
I love to go to comedy shows and just soak up what everybody else is doing, especially when there are people who have been doing it like 10 plus
Yeah.
years. Because I have so much more to learn.
Absolutely. I feel the same way, and I've been doing it for close to 15 years, but
Really?
yeah, I started in 20, so I guess I've probably been doing it 13 years. I started in 2012. But I still very much value going to shows and just watching and just
Hmm.
learning and seeing. When I teach classes, I encourage new comedians to do that. The way I say it is, I say, you can learn from the good and the bad. You can whatever happens on stage is a teachable moment. Another question I thought of while we were talking, because you mentioned you struggle with depression, and you have mentioned, because we've talked about it for this whole podcast, that you do comedy, and I know how sometimes it's hard to be in comedy or do comedy or participate in the open mics when you also struggle with like depression. And so for myself, sometimes there's times when I know maybe I don't need to go out tonight. Or the time, or and there's sometimes where I have to kick myself in the butt and say you need to go out tonight. So has that been kind of any kind of struggle, or do you have a way of kind of balancing the two, or like how does that work with being an entertainer and also struggling with depression? Because that's a common thing that entertainers have to deal with.
Well, I keep in mind the end goal. On when it comes to an open mic, you don't have to go.
Hmm.
But if I've booked a gig and I said I'm going to be there, I'm going to push through. I mean, I do have mild depression,
Hmm.
so it's not extreme.
Yeah.
So a lot of days I may be able to maneuver it myself, do something to cheer myself up.
Yeah.
Call the right person to get me in a good headspace, play some music that I need to listen to, or sometimes just take it a little bit slower.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get to the award show on time, but I got there.
There we go. That's good.
So there are ways that I am able to work around it and get through it. Um, Standing on stage was really hard at first, but I think I've done pretty well with that as well.
Yeah.
So it's a process.
Yeah. I love that. Let's talk Gospel Girls.
Okay.
I don't think I've actually talked to you much about this, but I know with the Clean Comedy Collective, we promoted some of the shows and we've shared on the website. And I just think it's so cool. And so I'd love to hear more about your Gospel Girls comedy show, how that works, how's it going, and all the things.
Well, the Gospel Girls of Comedy was the brainchild of Chuck Hildreth, which is a promoter in Memphis. And he wanted to put together 4 women that did clean gospel comedy. And so it's myself, Quinn Kelly, who's amazing, Still Phil, and Latoya Tennille is the host.
Okay.
And we've done maybe 4 or 5 shows together. We're still gaining momentum, but it's been good. I think of those we've done, we maybe sold out 3.
Very cool.
And we all bring something different and unique to the table.
I was just thinking that's a very cool group of ladies. Like that's like
It
a fun,
is.
like that. In addition to being a good show, that's like a fun hang.
Yeah, we have a good time. We do, and we're all in different stages in life, so we have different things to talk about. Quinn is a new mother. She just had another baby, and both her kids are under the age of 5. Latoya Tennille's children are both in college now. I have no kids. Still Phil is more seasoned, but she lived an amazing life as a dancer before she
cool.
started doing comedy. So we all bring this different vibe
Yeah,
to the show,
for
and
sure.
and it's been great.
And that's wonderful because it can connect to different audience members. Like different people will see one of you and connect to your act more. And it's not that they might not connect to the other acts; they might still find them funny, but they'll find one of y'all more relatable. Like, oh, that I see me in that.
Yeah, and it's a great show for the Christian community. Anybody that loves the Lord, loves to laugh.
Yeah.
You do both. If you attend church on a regular, there are these little idiosyncrasies or things that we do in church that we just get, and they're hilarious. I know one guy said church is not funny, but the people in church are funny, and I would have to agree.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely, it's fun. I find a lot of humor in the culture around it and some of the things that we do, and it's not like I'm laughing because I'm making fun of it, but I'm just laughing because it's like I get how important this is, but also it's funny.
Yeah, because you used to be a youth pastor,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So yeah, I'm sure you have plenty of jokes
Right.
during that from that time in your life.
Well, yeah, there's just the things people would randomly come up to you and say after church, or after a sermon, or after like that. It's very and it's probably very relatable to comedians after a show too. So, but
Oh my goodness, everybody wants to be a comedian after a show.
oh yeah. Have you had any fun?
Thought about doing comedy.
Go do it.
That is always my response. Do it. What's stopping you?
Yeah.
Everybody says I'm so funny. Do it. Go to an open mic. See how you do.
Yeah,
Write some jokes.
yeah, do it. And getting up there, or like getting to do comedy isn't the hard part. It's like learning how to do it might be, there's a skill to it. But like anyone who's ever interested in comedy, it's not that hard to go up and sign up for an open mic or
Not at all. And we don't have a monopoly on this. So please,
Yeah.
this is one of those fields where it kind of feels like the more the merrier.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Because everyone has a perspective, and that perspective probably connects with an audience somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, we were talking about everyone's being everyone thinks they're a comedian after a show. Have you had anyone come up to you after a show and say something really funny or something really, or not even just after a show, like, but you being a comedian and people knowing you as a comedian? Do people ever come up to you with the whole like, "Oh, I've got a joke for you," or like something random?
Not really. I get mostly people who actually know me who are surprised that I am funny. Because
Oh,
I tell people I'm not funny in real life. I am funny on stage. You know, some people are the life of the party
Mhm.
and they're always cracking jokes. I am not that person. And I'm not. I don't think I've cracked a joke since we've been sitting here. But so people who actually know me, they're surprised
Right.
after they see me on stage. So that is probably the biggest comment I got. You were really funny.
I get the you were actually funny because it's like I think they think I'm probably not funny.
Mm.
They probably like he tries, but then when I get up, but I do. It's fun where I work during the day. I'll occasionally have people walk in the front office, and they'll be like a guy literally last week was like, "Hey, I thought of a joke. I wanted to tell it to you." And there's some people seem to have enjoyment in telling a comedian a joke. Like so I don't know what it is, but I thought.
And I always laugh just to be polite.
Oh yeah,
Whether it was funny or not, I generally just go ahead and laugh.
100%. If you're gonna go through the effort of telling me one on, I mean, that's like doing a comedy show for one audience member, and I'm like, that's rough. I'll be a good audience member. So, um, so we talked about Gospel Girls. I know what I want to talk to you about. I learned this morning when I was researching you that you're an author. You've written 11 books.
I have.
And I've also learned you're a speaker and you do voiceover and radio DJ. So we're gonna unpack all of that. But let's talk about your being an author, since that's literally one of the reasons why you came here to Nashville this week was to talk about your book. Tell me about your books, or like why you write, or I don't just let's talk more about authorship.
Well, I can't say I haven't published anything outside of a children's book in like the
Hmm.
last 5 years. But I started really. I was in my 20s
Hmm.
when I started writing, and I was just venting. I was venting about dating. Yeah, I was single, Christian, and dating, and it was not going well.
That's a dangerous combination. That's rough for a lot of
I
folks.
Men didn't want they really didn't want a practicing Christian woman. They wanted a woman that was familiar with church vernacular and protocol. You know, if
Hmm.
they took you to their grandmother's church, you would not embarrass them.
Yeah.
You knew what to wear, you knew what to say. You weren't trying to put your hand in the collection plate for change. You know, you knew what communion was. You know,
Yeah.
well, they give us this little cracker for, they wanted people that were familiar with church.
Absolutely.
But when it came to no, I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to live a Christian life. I don't do that.
Like, wait, you actually do what? You believe that? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
No, that they didn't want to hear that part.
Hmm.
So I was, and then because I actually started writing in college.
Hmm.
And at that time I was a good girl, and I was gung ho about I was gonna wait for marriage to have sex. And so I was venting, and then I graduated, forgot about it, didn't worry about it. And all my friends, or several of my friends, started publishing books.
Hmm.
And then I remembered I had written this, and one of my friends, um, Latrivia Nelson, she had actually started a publishing company.
Oh,
So
cool.
I sent her what I had written and said, if I finish this, I have maybe 50 pages.
Mhm.
If I finish this, would you publish it for me? And she was like, absolutely. So that's what got it started. And so my first books ended up being a trilogy, Someday, Two, and Forever and a Day. And it was for Christian singles.
Mhm.
And it was about a woman who was dating and just going through this journey, and she met a man who was a former NFL player but also had a stalker, a very
Mm.
relentless stalker. And it was about how they were trying to maneuver through this relationship without getting seriously injured. And so that's what got me started. And then after that, I wrote a couple of books of short stories, Things Every Good Woman Should Know, Volume 1 and Volume 2. And Volume 2 is now, I'm full grown adult dating.
Mhm.
And so Volume 2 has a subtitle, Dear God, Did My Boaz Get Hit by a Bus? I mean, because like where I thought I'd be married by 25, have all my children by 30, and I'm not even in a serious relationship. What's going on? And then after that, I wrote a book called Husband Wanted. I'm sure you're noticing the theme now, which was about the different ways that women try to find love. They're three sisters who are beautiful, intelligent, but their grandmother, who was a millionaire, publishing house millionaires, did not understand why they did not all have husbands. So when she died, she put in her will that in order to get their inheritance, which was quite a bit, they had to be married in 9 months.
Ooh.
So, somebody tried online dating, somebody was trying to make their failed relationship they were in work. One person, she had a whole roster and she was trying to figure out who out of the roster should I marry.
Yeah.
So that's what that book was into, because at that time I think I was starting just to get into online dating myself, and it's an interesting journey.
That's a field. That is a thing that exists.
and when I got into it, I think the hot ones were what, Plenty of Fish, Black Planet, which wasn't supposed to be a dating site, but it was. And it was one other, and it's just, yeah, because I only did the free ones. I wasn't paying.
I've often thought that's my problem is I just invest free for the dating sites, and I'm like, you get what you pay for.
I tried the other ones a little bit later. Oh, but no, but I actually met my husband on Facebook dating. I did.
Really?
Yes, I
That's
remember.
wonderful. Also, that is it feels like that's one of the sketchiest ones.
They've changed since I was on it. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
I haven't been on it in quite some time, but they became, a lot of them became hookup central.
Yep.
Just people who just were trying to hook up, whether they were already in a relationship. Some of them were married.
Yeah.
So you learned how to look for the signs, why they only texted you certain times of the
Right.
day,
Oh,
or
yeah.
when they could only talk certain times of the day, or why they rarely seemed interested in meeting you, or
Yeah.
you want to meet at some random place. So
There's all kinds of warning signs you pick up in the almost like the nonverbal texting communication, right? Like,
most definitely. And so
now that Husband One book sounds like it'd be a fantastic like movie. Like that's a rom-com. Like that's one we need to get on
I
like,
actually
silver
want to
screen.
learn how to write screenplays so I can, because I've wanted to change my first series into something for
Yeah.
quite some time. So we'll see what the future holds.
Yeah.
But I tell anybody, if you want to try online dating, go for it. I mean, there are plenty of people who have met the
Mhm.
right one, myself included, on online dating. You just have to be careful. I mean, exhibit the same rules that you would if you had met them in the grocery store. Don't invite people to your house too soon. Meet them at the location.
Mhm.
If they start saying things that you're not interested in, I mean, it's easier to cut somebody off when you've never seen them before.
Yeah,
If
that's true.
they're alluding to conversations and things that you're just not interested in, stop responding.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's not like you have to. If you start a text conversation with someone, you owe them like your life. Like
You don't owe anybody anything.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's your safety,
Mhm.
your well being. I remember I had a guy that got mad at me because I wasn't always readily available to him.
Mm.
But at the time I had a business, and I mean it's just a small home based business, and I was focused on my business. So if he called me, and I'm the type of person, if I care, I'll hit you right back. I'm in the middle of a phone call. I'll text you. I'm in the middle of a call, give you a call in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. My break will be over then. You
my
must be in a relationship. You're never available when I am. I mean, we did not schedule a call, sir.
No.
And I'm
Yeah.
in the middle of a conference call.
And I wonder if anyone's ever gotten that kind of response and be like, "Wow, this makes me like you more. Let me respond
Mm.
quicker."
I was just like, I don't have a boyfriend, but I am very busy at this point in
Yeah.
my life. And if that's a problem for you, okay.
What would you say were the greatest benefits of writing, being an author, like putting those books out on paper
It's
and getting them out there?
therapy. It is therapy. Getting all that stuff out. Well, if you're angry, put it on paper. I mean, still to this day, I might write out a Facebook post, and then just delete it, or I put it in what is it? View me only.
Yeah, me only. Yeah, I do that. I
So
do that as
nobody
well.
sees it at all.
Yeah.
Or I mean, yeah, it just sometimes you just need to get it out.
Yep.
And then my last group of books I wrote with a male author called Mario D. King, this was the most fun I've ever had writing a book. it was about friendships with benefits, and I wrote from the female perspective, and he wrote from the male
Oh, that's
perspective.
cool.
And it was like a battle because we were trying to outdo each other in the
Yeah.
chapters. So as soon as he would send me his chapter, I couldn't wait to read it and see what I could do to his character with my character to make it more interesting.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah,
fun.
it's where do we go from here? One, where do we go from here? Two, and from here to there.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
And for anyone listening, we are on all the episode notes. So whether you're listening to us on YouTube / watching us, or any of the Buzzsprout, Spotify, whatever, if you go to the episode description, I'll have Jay's website linked, and on her website you can access all of her books. So,
Mhm.
unless you're driving, if any of those interest you right now, pause and go get it.
Yeah, so I say I write inspirational romance, which is the edgier side of Christian fiction
Mhm.
and contemporary fiction. So, and my stories are fables for adults because everything has a moral to it. Everything I'm trying to teach a lesson or make you think about something.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's fun. Now, and you're also a speaker as well. Do you speak about similar topics, or like based off of your books, or what do you do as a public speaker?
It just depends on the topic. Now, when I was heavy into the author circle, I did a lot more speaking that I do now, especially and when I was in radio. I
Mhm.
don't do a whole lot of things where I'm just speaking. People would
Mhm.
rather hear me tell a joke these days. But it usually has to do with a lot of it had to do with Christian singles at
Mhm.
one time, but now I'm not single anymore.
Yeah, so nobody cares what you have to say. We
No.
have to find it. We have to find another Christian single.
I mean, but I tell people I would still love to speak on the topic because I was single for so long. I mean, I got married at the age of right before my 47th
Yeah.
birthday. So I learned so much about being single, and especially during those years when I was really trying
Mhm.
to live right and just loving yourself. Because once you get past 40, a lot of women we do have to start facing the reality that it may never happen.
Mhm.
So my question is, what's next?
Yeah.
I did not want to be what I call a woe is me single, which is where you're unhappy because you don't have a spouse. I get it. We all want someone. We
Yeah.
do. But you have to look at what's going right. I mean, are you healthy? Do you have a job? Do
Mhm.
you have a roof over your head? Do you have transportation? Are you making money and you're able to travel and do the things that you love? Let's focus on that and try to have the best life we possibly can with where we are in life.
Yeah, absolutely.
The biggest lesson that I could tell any person, but especially a single person, it is nobody's job to make you happy but you.
Yep.
Now people can come and add to your happiness. They can even detract from your happiness if you're letting the wrong person in. But the joy that you have deep down inside, nobody can ever take that from you. It's a mindset thing.
Absolutely.
It's like when you've decided to have a good day and this ugly, nasty, rude person comes up to you and you still decide to have a good day. They tried to ruin your day, but you're not today, Satan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you laugh and keep having a great day.
One thing I've learned through just lots of comedy shows and watching audiences and stuff like that is, to an extent, being offended is a choice. To an extent, having a bad day is a choice.
It can be, most
Now
definitely.
there's absolutely extenuating circumstances, but when someone says something wrong, when someone does something wrong, when something happens, you choose where you're going to go from there. Like what you said, what's next?
And even with comedy, because you have those moments when you bomb.
Mhm.
I would take it so to heart. I mean, it would probably take me anywhere from 24 to 48 hours to get
Mhm.
over it when I had a bad show.
Yeah.
And even if it was an open mic and I'm just trying, I mean, because I wanted to do well so badly.
Mhm.
But and so people who could just shake it off afterward. I mean, Queen Kelly, and don't get me wrong, we started at the same time
Mhm.
and we've gotten so much better on time over time. But those early moments when we were still learning the craft and we wouldn't get the laughs that we wanted, and she's a bubbly person
Yeah.
anyway, she'd be bubbly after it.
Yeah.
And
And you're like,
I
how?
and I'm sitting over in a corner like my day was just ruined because those jokes that I thought were so hilarious in the shower didn't work when
Yeah.
other people were in the room.
I relate to that so much because when I first started, one bomb would set my whole week.
Yeah.
It would mess with me. And but to your point that we were talking about earlier in this episode was the one of the importance of getting as much stage time as possible
Mhm.
is it's kind of like you learn how to take a punch. It's kind of like bombing happens. It's part of comedy, and the more you do it, the less it bothers you.
Yeah, and you also learn how to pivot. Okay,
Yep.
that joke is not working. Let's go in a direction where I've tried these jokes,
Yep.
and so you end on a high note instead of a low note.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, we've talked about you as a comedian, we've talked about you as an author, we've talked about you as a speaker. We didn't talk much about it, but you as a radio DJ and also as a voiceover artist. And you do all these things. Is there one that kind of brings you the most joy, or has it been kind of like at different stages in life, or is there like one that just really stands out that's like your favorite thing, or is it kind of like all of them and just whatever?
I would say different stages in life because I started off in radio straight
Mhm.
out of college, and radio led to voiceovers because you learn that you can get paid for doing
Mhm.
this commercials. I don't do them as much as I used to because the company that I used to work for folded, and I never went through all the steps to set up a home studio to keep continuing to do
Yeah,
it. But it was a great point in my life. I had some pretty big spots. Ben and Jerry's. I did McDonald's. I think I had a Kroger spot. So
I love
it
eating
was
at all
fun.
those
And
places.
yes, and then the fact that I got paid just to talk.
Mhm.
Yeah, I what I'm doing right now, they just gave me a script for it. So I really enjoyed, and I would love doing more of it. I just don't
Mhm.
put forth the effort. And then the market is so much more saturated than when
Yeah.
I started. And anybody with a microphone and a laptop can now do voiceovers. Before you needed to go to a
Mhm.
studio and then you had a producer that did all the editing for you in most cases, or I would send my raw voice to a person.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to audition for something that I saw 500 people already auditioned for,
Right.
or when you get on these sites that cater to that. So I don't really do that anymore. And then while I was doing that, I was writing books, which it was a great ride. It
Mhm.
was, but just like comedy, it can be grueling.
Mhm.
And the thing about me, in addition to all my other issues, they didn't call it ADHD back then, but I would get easily distracted.
Mhm.
So after I was one of those people that after I've accomplished this goal, I'd start to lose interest. So even though I wrote all of those, there are people who write their entire career. I mean, there's some people who have like 50, 60 books. After maybe about book 9, 10, I was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. It's a
Yeah.
lot of effort and time, energy, and money because going to these book conventions and setting up tables, paying vendor fees, it's expensive.
Yeah.
And until you reach a point where, your household name and everybody knows you, it's coming out of your pocket. They're not paying you
Absolutely.
to come. And maybe if I had stuck with it a little bit longer, I would. Well, I know I would. I would
Mhm.
be at that point right now. God, I hope I would be.
Mhm.
But I fell off. I did,
Yeah.
and so it's
And it's
part
all
of the
about the
journey.
perspective. It's like you could say like I fell off, but you can say like you moved on. You moved in a different direction. So
Like that, I
yeah.
moved on.
Yeah.
And my last book, which was a children's book, which I released maybe about 2, 3 years ago, it's Prayers for Janiyah. My friend is sick. What can I do? That was written for a child who was battling cancer in St. Jude. I was dating her uncle at the time, and then she became a very big part of my life.
Mm.
And I wanted something. I wanted to do something special for her, but I also wanted to still have something tangible around in case she didn't make it. And unfortunately, Janiyah did not make it. She passed
Right.
when she was 18. But I'm very proud of that book. And it
Yeah.
also teaches children who have friends that have chronic diseases that what you can do for them when you have that friend that's always in the hospital, or and there are times when you may not be able to come see them, you can always pray for them.
Yeah.
You can write
Absolutely.
them a letter, you can send them a card, do something to brighten their day when they're not feeling well.
Hmm. Yeah. That's so true. Wow. Well. That is. Thank you for that answer. That's a good point. I'm sorry about your friend.
Well,
That's
thank you. Thank you. I'm still very close to her mom. We talk all the time. And so, it was a blessing. It
yeah.
still is.
For sure. So, what would you say is your big with stand-up comedy since you've started stand-up comedy? What's been like the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome since starting?
Stand up comedy. I wouldn't call it, well, maybe you could see it as a challenge, but the one place that I want to improve is crowd work.
Mm.
I want to be able to incorporate the audience into my show, and there is that's a craft.
Yeah.
That is a
That is
gift.
definitely a skill.
You know, so to be, and because it's impromptu, you can have your
Mhm.
set for the most part memorized, but give yourself some flexibility. But you
Mhm.
never know who's going to walk through that door and what they're going to say to you and how you can respond and bring them into the
For sure.
experience. So that's one part of the comedy that I am definitely trying to get better at.
Yeah, I feel that because crowd work isn't my natural thing either, and I'm also trying to get better at it. And one thing I found that has helped though is, even at the open mics, I always try like one little thing at the beginning of my routine,
Mm,
just one, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. I do feel like over the years, or I think I've been trying this about a year or two, over the past couple of years, I feel like it's gotten better. But like I wouldn't put myself as a crowd work comic,
gotcha.
but I feel like it's made it a little bit easier.
And it's so funny when you see people who have this amazing crowd work.
Mhm.
But you're not so crazy about their stand up.
Right.
But going into that room and just having fun with the crowd,
Yep.
they're totally in their element.
Absolutely. I feel the same. I can think of comedians who I love it when I see them get up and just interact with the crowd,
Hmm.
and then they get into their material, and part of me is like, I wish you'd still talk to the crowd. Like,
And then there are people that are great at both.
hmm. Yep. And I think it's important because I've heard plenty of comedians say that crowd work isn't real comedy, and I disagree with that.
So not true.
Even though it's not my particular style, I can honestly say like there's a lot of talent and skill that goes into being a good crowd work comic.
Being able to do impromptu, improvise, off the cuff, whatever you want to call it, that is a skill.
For sure. It really is. And it's cool. It's a cool and some people are more naturally talented at it, and that's okay.
Mhm.
But okay, so now we're going to do the Ask a Comedian section of the podcast. So for everyone who's listening who maybe doesn't know about this, you have the option at any point. Even you can literally press the send us mail option on our episode today. But you can send in any kind of question that you'd like to ask a comedian. It can be a comedy related question, or it could be a completely random, like nothing to do with comedy. And you can do this on Facebook. You can do this on Instagram, on Threads, at Drew Davis Comedy. That's all my stuff. But I about once a month ask people if they have any questions. But you don't have to wait for me to ask. I literally had someone one time email me, be like, "Hey, here's a question you should add to your list." So we ask a few questions to our comedians each week. And earlier, before we hit record, Jay picked the three numbers that I asked. I just feel like that runs a lot smoother than me asking you on site to pick three. And so here are the questions.
Okay.
So here's the first one. It comes to us from Instagram from Bo Cowan. He's a comedian here in Nashville. And his question is, what's your favorite comedy club food?
Wings.
A-
I-
absolutely.
Most of the time when I go to a comedy club, I am ordering the wings.
Mhm.
And everybody makes them different.
It's true.
But
There's
you
some
know, I
uniqueness.
knew that wings were, when wings started to get really expensive, one comedy club started selling drummies.
Mhm.
I mean, and not drummies like where you chop the wing,
Yeah.
actual
Drumsticks,
drumsticks
yeah.
instead of wings. And that was funny within itself.
Yeah.
I had my honey gold drumsticks.
I prefer the drumsticks over the I guess the wing part of it. I always do whenever because
I
you
just
get
was
both.
not ready.
Yeah.
I was not ready because when the waitress told me, it really didn't register.
You're like,
But when
what?
she set like 5 big drumsticks in front of me,
Yep.
so if you don't like dark meat, you're in a problem. That's a problem.
That's a problem. But well, if you don't like dark meat,
But
you
I've
got
always
it
loved
works.
the drumsticks.
Yeah.
Even as a kid, that's the
Mhm.
part of the chicken that I wanted.
I feel like that's I 100% approve of places that just sell the drumsticks.
Mm.
Like I would pay extra for just drumsticks.
I've only seen it once, and I've only seen it once.
Yeah, usually you get both, but the drumsticks are better. So that's okay. That's a good answer. Okay, this next question came from Catherine Rogue on Facebook. She's also a Clean Comedy Collective comedian. And this is a fun one because I feel like everyone has a different answer to this. But what rituals do you do, or excuse me, what rituals do you go through before you go on your show?
I try to get by myself and go over my jokes. Sometimes I will play happy music.
Mhm.
I'll be out some. Pharrell, Happy Feet,
Yeah,
something
that's a
like
good
that.
one.
Just something I can't say I want to be hyped up. I don't necessarily want to be hyped up, but I want to be in
It
a
makes
good
you more
headspace.
positive. Yeah, it makes
So
you more. Yeah.
when I drive to Nashville, I'm going to spend that time in the car going over my set.
Hmm.
Yeah, that just and you know that's actually the perfect time to I got time
Yeah.
at that point. So to try to get my time down, and then I also come up with some really good jokes. They're
Hmm.
a different way to veer off of what I'm already doing when I'm driving. So that's generally what I try to do right before I do a show.
Yeah, I love that. Last question. This one comes from threads from someone named Joshua. So I knew the other two. I don't know. I
Hey,
don't. I don't.
Joshua.
Oh, all right, Joshua. Let's. And this is so funny because you referenced this earlier in the conversation, and I knew that we were going to be ending with this question. But what is your end goal for comedy?
My end
And I
goal.
think you said I don't normally put goals and stuff together. So.
Well, yeah, I definitely want to get to the point where I can live off of
Hmm.
this. I want this to be my career. This is
Hmm.
not a bad way to make a living at all. So that is where my end goal is, and what that looks like. I'm sure it'll appear over time. Will I be a traveling comedian at
Hmm.
all times? I mean, I'm hoping maybe I get a good enough social media following to where that could be a nice chunk of my
Yeah.
income. Will I do more? Um, will I venture into films or things like that? I don't know, but I do know that I want to stick with this. I don't want my ADHD. Uh, I don't forgot. I won't. You know, they got so many terms. Right? I think I said that right. ADHD.
Yeah.
I don't want this to be one of the times where it kicks in. I'm like, oh, I've accomplished that goal. I'm good.
Yeah.
I mean, unless I win the lottery, then I'm like, no, I don't really need to
Then
do
you can
this.
just do a show. You'd get booked so often. He's like, you just got to pay me
Eh,
dollar, and I'll so I can count it
right.
for taxes, and then I'll do it for. And everyone will be like, we'd love to have you come do the show.
So yeah, that's my end goal.
I like that goal, because I like that because it's a tangible real life goal. So many comedians, when they start or even as they go on, their goal is and it's just to become famous, to be well known among everyone. And unfortunately, that's not a very quantifiable goal, and that's not one that we have a lot of control over. To just say, I want everyone to know me, and it's hard to tell because some what works for some people doesn't work for others, and you kind of never know until it's working or not working. But today we'll say like, I'd like to make money from this.
Yeah,
I'd
I
like
mean,
to,
I'm not
you can,
interested in being superstar status.
yeah,
I don't want to be a Kevin Hart. I don't.
right.
There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. But I do want to be, I guess, in that middle
Hmm.
tier,
Yeah,
to where you can charge thousands to come. But and this may sound crazy, but people aren't threatened by you, and they're always trying to sabotage you.
right. Absolutely.
People are
Right.
trying. I mean, somebody tried to set him up.
Yeah,
When he went through that whole sex scandal.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
no, no,
Yeah, I don't need people. Yeah, we don't need
no,
people to, yes.
I don't want people always gunning for me because they think for whatever they think.
Yeah,
But I just want to be able to. I just want to be comfortable, enjoying my life, making some money, and as people say, out the way.
yeah.
I am out of the way.
Just do your thing, and everyone else doing theirs, and that's totally fine.
Hmm.
You know what though? I think you'll find as you continue to do this, and I've seen this in my own career, and it's one of my favorite things. But I just knowing you and what like a relatable and approachable and nice person, and the heart you have behind your comedy, you will find that. You even if you don't become famous where everybody knows you and you're everybody's favorite comedian, you will find as you continue this that you'll build your fan base, and there will be those people that your act matters to them so much. It makes
Hmm.
such a difference. So whether it's the positivity or whether it's their funniest joke that they know, and it is really cool when you don't have to be famous to everyone, but when you have those few people that
Yeah.
because what that means is what you're doing is making their life better, and that's a cool feeling.
Well,
Yeah,
comedy is medicine.
yeah,
It is. Laughter is medicine, and if I can, give you a good shot
yeah.
every now and then to brighten your day or add to whatever you have going on, and you leave feeling really good, and you think it's money well spent, or whether you got in for free, you think it's time
Time
well
will, yeah.
spent. That I'm happy. I'm happy.
And I love it when, I mean, it's so nice when we have crowds of people or people that come to the comedy shows, whether it's a crowd, whether it's just a few people, just in
Mhm.
like I love watching the enjoyment they get out of the
Most
shows.
definitely.
So if you're someone who's been to our shows, either me or Jay's or the Clean Comedy Collectives, let me just take this time and say thank you for supporting us, because it's life giving for us. Now, Jay,
Yes,
first of all,
thank you so much.
yeah, it makes a difference. It really is. First of all, thank you also for being on this podcast,
My
for
pleasure.
driving all the way from Memphis just for this podcast and for nothing else.
Well, I got some other stuff going on in the
For
area,
nothing else.
but I drove to Hendersonville
That's
for
true.
nothing
Yes,
else.
thank you for driving to Hendersonville, and meeting me at Waffle House, even though I was already here. Do you have anything you'd like to promote? Now, this episode is going to be coming out on the first Saturday in May, which I think is like a May 2nd or whatever.
Okay.
So just just so you know, I'll cut that part out. But yeah, so is there anything you'd like to promote that's coming up, or maybe most importantly, like where can people find you? How can people support you? That kind of stuff.
You can support me by you can go to any of my social media. It's What Did Jae Say, and Jae is spelled Jae. Well, you can find me under that Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I think YouTube is Jae Henderson, and also you can always go to my website. It's thejhenderson.com, and you can find where I will be doing comedy, as well as you can find my books and anything else that I have, because I yeah, I just like to. I was in that phase where I was writing any and everything.
Mhm.
I mean, I even have a little I guess you call it a pamphlet. I don't know, a how to book. It's called for women who are celibate, the keys to keeping your legs closed. Because
I love that.
because when I was going through that journey, I learned there are certain situations and
Mhm.
things, if you want to accomplish this goal, that you need to keep yourself out of. I mean, little tricks that you can do for yourself to try to keep your mind off of that thing. So yeah,
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, we'll check her out. Follow her on all of our social media. Go to her site. I went to the site earlier today. There's a lot of good stuff. I was like, this is a good site.
thank you.
And if you don't know where else to go, you can find her on our cleancomedycollective.com site.
Most
In
definitely.
addition to 219 other comedians. And just always a friendly reminder, check our site out. Check out what shows we have in your area. Check out other podcast episodes. We interview different comedians each week. And when things work out and I post every week, then there's a new interview every week. So we'd love for you to continue to listen to our podcast. If you think about it, drop us a review, give us a 5-star rating, drop a comment, give that kind of stuff helps us get the podcast out more so more people can see it. And so it just kind of sticks out more. So it's more honestly more helpful than I would have thought before I started doing podcasting. But it does make a difference. But thank you guys so much for listening. Jay, thank you so much for being
My
here.
pleasure. Thank you for having me, Drew. This was a good interview.
This was great. Appreciate it. And we will see you all next week for another chat.
You're welcome.